Slicing, dicing, and DNA splicing. Here's your look at the new NECA Toys Aliens Razor Claws Alien. There has been an alien outbreak on Earth due to an experiment gone awry by the United States Colonial Marine Corps and the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. The city of Sandrade, California has been overrun by deadly xenomorphs headed by a corrupt General Bush. The project began with a secretly acquired alien queen facehugger, brought to Earth to study and experimentation. Beginning with this rare asset, Bush's plan was to create an army of bioweapons to be controlled by his military, but soon learned that the alien species could not be tamed, and this full xenomorph infestation would be the cost of his mistake. Just before we get a closer look at Razor Claws Alien, I kind of feel like I want to call him Razor's Claw Alien, but in fact it's actually the other way around. Razor Claws Alien. If I can for a second, let me just throw out a quick intergalactic thank you to the folks over at NECA Toys that provided the sample of the Razor Claws Alien that we could have a look at in this review. They were also kind enough to send over the Arachnoid Alien, and they also provided the Chrysalis Alien. I figure that we are going to be looking at in an upcoming review. Before we get down to actually looking at the finer features here on Razor Claws Alien, let's get this guy first clocked in to see how tall he actually stands. Now, I can assure you, this isn't going to be normally the way I display my alien figures on the shelf. I usually like to bend the knees or have them in a more squatted pose. I'm only extending out the legs like this so you can actually see at its highest point how tall the Razor Claws Alien stands. From there, further adding on to that, I'm going to bring in my trusty ruler. I'm going to put that right to the very top of his head. The Razor Claws Alien stands exactly 9 inches in height, or 23 centimeters tall. If, by the way, though, you did see my earlier review of the Arachnoid Alien, thank you, by the way, for checking that out. I'm not going to bore you guys again with a dragged-out story of how I parted ways with the originally released Arachnoid Alien, or in this case, Razor Claws Alien. I guess I'm sort of sounding like I'm getting into the story again, but just to make a long story short if I can, I ended up having the original releases of these figures and I parted ways with them a while ago. There, that's the end of the story. Why I'm bringing this up again, dragging it out in this review, is just to reiterate the fact I can't bring in the original Razor Claws Alien for a comparison, but if you guys certainly would like to go back and check out my earlier review of it, it was still a fine looking figure, but the paint job was a little bit more simpler. This one definitely has elevated things when it comes to the paint job. What I can do, though, even though I don't have the original Razor Claws Alien, I can certainly free up a little bit of space next to Razor's Claw, and I can bring in the earlier looked at Arachnoid Alien, which in this case I've actually got him on all fours. Likely that's going to be the way I'm going to display the figure because it actually suits that kind of pose. I did say that in the review of the Arachnoid Alien, and I might see if I can do that with the other aliens, but really, again, when you're looking at a character like Razor Claws, he's the type of alien really should be upright. In my own personal opinion, he should only be on his 2 legs instead of 4. I'm also saying that as well because he's got super long nails, not something that really accommodates the idea of actually having him on all fours because he'd have to actually be having to balance himself on those really long nails on the ends of those digits. The Razor Claws Alien, as you can see, doesn't come included with any accessories. Though most of the time you don't get much in the way of accessories anyways when it comes to NECA Alien releases, other than maybe a facehugger or 2. Believe you me, I have enough facehuggers to last a lifetime anyways. It's kind of somewhat ironic that I'm saying it like that. But I have enough facehuggers, I really don't need any more to include with these figures. Occasionally, sure, yes. But in a case like this, I really don't need or miss the fact that it doesn't come included with any accessories. In between takes, though, you may have also noticed, I bent the knees and had him more in a crouching pose. This is going to be the way I'm going to be displaying the Razor Claw. It doesn't really work well for a character to be like this to be on all fours. Yes, it works well for an Arachnoid Alien, but I don't think I would want to do that with a character like Razor Claws. Also, one of the benefits of him having a wireframe tail, which tends to be the case with this type of alien design, is that spinning this to the side so you can see it, the tail really does help to balance the weight of the figure. Especially with a character like Razor Claw, who has notably a longer top dome and even longer tubes on the back of its torso. That wireframe tail really does help come to the aid of keeping the figure stabilized, again, serving as sort of a third tripod leg. Picking the figure up, so you guys can get a closer look at what it looks like. If you may have had the chance to go back and watch my earlier review of the first Razor Claws Alien, you may recognize right away that the purple carries over here. Although the original release, as good as it was, and as nicely detailed as it was as a figure, I gotta say, like, the purple on its own really lacked a little bit of pizzazz. Going back and re-releasing this guy again, you can see that NECA afforded him a nice darker wash that goes over top of that purple, which I did like before, but I have to say, like, the black really does well to pop the details on all the figure's sculpt. We'll start first with the head sculpt. One of the notable traits of the Razor Claws alien is the fact it does have a longer dome. If you were to compare this with, say, a regular big chap, then I think the dome is about a third the length longer. But it still has the familiar trait of having the see-through dome where you can see the skull inside, though they have frosted it, so the features on that aren't as easy to detect because they have gone with the smokier look of the paint. I think it works really well with this figure. One of the things also with this particular figure design, like the arachnoid we looked at earlier, is this one does have a pointed chin. You can see with the little spikes that stick out from the end. Like the arachnoid, the mouth does open up, and you can get in there. This one's a little harder to gain access to, but there's the little jaw inside. Will I actually be able to get this out this time around? It seemed to be fine earlier on. I don't know if I can actually pull this one out or not. But it does have the little inner jaw. It's a little harder to gain access to. You can see it right there. But it does extend out from the figure, which wasn't giving me any issues before. Of course, now that the camera is rolling, I'm having more of a difficult time of actually trying to get that to extend out. But it does come out of the mouth, and you can see up close and personal all the nice details done to the sculpting of the face. It's neat enough because it looks like a traditional alien, because once again, like what we had talked about in the arachnoid alien, there's enough similar stuff to an original alien xenomorph design, but yet then they've tweaked some of the things about it, like, again, making the dome on the top of the helmet, the head a little bit longer, making the tubes on the back of the torso, again, a little bit longer. It really still looks like a regular alien, but just an alien that's been slightly tweaked. Speaking of slightly tweaked, let's talk a little bit about its namesake, Razor Claws. It certainly does live up to that. Look at the length of the nails coming out from each one of the digits. Now, the neat thing about this one is actually there is articulation. Articulation in the sense that at least you can articulate the two fingers. But I kind of like the way they've crisscrossed the fingers like this. As opposed to having them straight like this, they actually have crossed them over one another. I don't know why I like that so much. Each one of the fingers as well not only gets the purple, the black, but also an additional silver that's added in there as well. You kind of see as it's held up to the light how that little bit of brushing of silver certainly helps to bring the finer features out of those individual finger blades. Now you can imagine how sharp those fingers would be on a regular xenomorph. Now try to contend with a Razor Claws alien, which have the nails, what, about double the length of a regular alien? Pretty cool though. The body torso, I've noticed on this one, is a little more slender than a regular alien. It's also a little bit slenderer than the alien, the arachnoid alien that we looked at earlier. The torsos look very similar. If it's maybe just my own eyes playing tricks on me, let's bring this one around so you can see it. Yeah, it does look like the Razor Claws alien actually has a slightly more slender torso than what we got here with the arachnoid alien. Looking at the two, it doesn't seem like they share much of anything when it comes to their molds. The arms seem different, as well as, of course, their upper and lower torso, as well as even like their legs. It doesn't look like they share anything at all. If anything, I would say that Razor Claws alien actually shares closer resemblance to a regular traditional alien, right down to the way that they've sculpted in the arms, the forearms, and even like the areas of the legs. Like, that's more classic looking alien it is for me. Again, we can talk a little bit about the longer tubes on the back of its torso. This is one of the things, again, that make Razor Claw very unique than a regular alien design, in that these little shoot tubes that stick out from the back of its torso not only are longer, but they're also a lot thinner than a regular alien too. They kind of look like tree roots that are coming out from the ground. The dark wash certainly does help to aid bring, again, all the details out. The dark contrast, it's even to the point where when you're looking at it, the light seems to bounce off more of the black, and you see a little less purple right away. When you see it under certain light, like I can see a little more of the purple here, but it doesn't seem to stand out as much as it did on the original release of the Razor Claws alien. Again, when you get to the lower legs, not too much changes from a traditional alien. The legs themselves, I guess we could talk more about the articulation in a second, but the toes are also articulated, so you can move those back and forth as well. Speaking of articulation, I guess we can cover off that right now. Starting first, I'm going to move things out of the way for the arms. Gaining access to the head. The head does rotate back and forth. There's a ball joint that allows the head to move up and down. It doesn't seem to move as much, though, as the arachnoid alien we looked at earlier. Something that you will want to be careful of is these little side tubes that stick out the side of his face. Rotating it too far the extreme on the one side or the other could run the risk of breaking off the tubes and detaching it from the side of its face. I guess articulation as well, we would count the mouth that does open and close, and even the inner jaw, which I'm having, again, such a struggle trying to get that out of his mouth. See if we can get that out before the end of final looks. The figure does also have a hinge joint at the top of his neck that allows the head to hinge up and down, but again, not as much I noticed as what we got with the arachnoid alien. Arms do come out, and the arms seem to come out a little bit more than the earlier looked at alien. The arms do also rotate all the way around. And it does have, if you can look at it right there, a single hinge in the elbow. Bends the elbow back and forth. The forearm rotates back and forth this way. Little loose on this arm, not as loose on this arm here. And the hands individually rotate all the way around. And they hinge back and forth. It's actually a little harder to show you guys this on camera because of the darker nature of the paint that they've used. I don't know if you can actually see the joint right there, but there it is right there. Again, hand moves back and forth this way and can rotate. And each of the fingers already expressed earlier. There's articulation on 2 of the digits, where the third one's basically just molded to the hand. You can see right there. For the upper torso is on a nice ball joint. Much more generous, I've noticed, than the arachnoid alien we looked at earlier. The legs split out. Slightly loose, but not terribly bad. Hinge those out. You can take the legs and you can move them forward and you can move them back. The figure has a double hinge on the knee. There's one there and a one there. You can bend those back and forth this way. And it also allows the leg to slightly rotate back and forth, basically on that first joint here. The foot also moves back and forth this way. The foot has an ankle pivot, which I don't think the other alien that we looked at earlier did. There is the toe articulation, so you can move that back and forth. And as we'd already discussed earlier, the tail, it does have a wire frame. Very long tail, by the way, with a very dangerous looking blade on the end of it. But because it does have a wire frame, again, if you are somebody that likes to do figure photography, and I've really seen some nice talented artists online showcase the way they take pictures of their NECA figures. But yeah, I mean, not only does it look good for figure photography, but it also serves to help be like an actual stabilizer. Again, when it comes to displaying this figure on a shelf, I usually bring the tail down as far as I can and just have it resting on the figure behind it. And yeah, it certainly does help to keep the figure from falling over. If it didn't have the tail, it would have a little bit more of a trickier time, especially a character like Razor Claws, because it has the longer head and because it has the longer tubes that jet out the back of its torso. It's more susceptible, I think, to a figure that's going to be falling over on you because it does have the wireframe like every other NECA alien figure. It does benefit from, again, stabilizing it and keeping the figure upright when you have it on your shelf. Not willing to throw in the towel just yet, this persistent person behind the camera, that's me, by the way, finally was able to get the small inner mouth extended out from the jaw of Razor Claws alien. It's good to set goals in life. If one of your goals, by the way, new time collector of NECA alien figures, is to try to track down the originally released arachnoid alien, the originally released Razor Claws alien, and even in fact the originally released Crystallis alien, don't do it. Don't go online. Don't pay the prices that scalpers are selling these things for. Sometimes 2 times or even 3 times the amount that they were originally going for in specialty stores and comic book stores. Don't do it. A lot of the times, NECA Toys does re-release these figures, and to the betterment of you, new time collector, because a lot of times they re-release these figures with much improved paint jobs. Nothing that was really slouching originally on the Razor Claws first release, but I gotta say, comparing the two, the originally released one, had the purple, yes, but it didn't have the darker contrast of the darker black wash that's been added to this one that I find really enrich and enhance the sculpting that they put into this figure. This one is a really nice looking figure as well. It's strange for me to say this, but Razor Claws alien seems scarier than a regular xenomorph. Maybe couple the fact that it does have a longer domed head. I think a lot of it has something to do with the fact that it's got these long fingernails. I wonder if somebody could customize this to make a Freddy Krueger xenomorph. Could you imagine a Freddy Krueger alien? I'm sure somebody's already doing that right now. But yeah, new time collector, wait. Don't jump to go to eBay right away if you don't have a chance to find and track down one of the older release figures. 9 times out of 10, NECA will re-release it and reward your experience of picking the figure up a second time around, or this first time around, the second time that they're going to be releasing it. You'll be rewarded, sir, madam, or owl, with a brand new looking figure Not only that hasn't been owned by somebody else, but also has a much better paint job than that first release. Case in point, the Razor Claws Alien. Case in point, the Arachnoid Alien. Case in point, which we haven't looked at yet, the Chrysalis Alien. Big thank you, though, to the folks over at NECA Toys that once again provided this sample of the Razor Claws Alien that we'd have a look at in this review. I think it was pretty good, actually. I didn't call him Razor's Claw Alien. At least I don't think that I did. Somebody's been taking a tally down below in the comment section. If you guys are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notification and make sure, yes, you're coming back to this channel because not only are we going to be looking at the Chrysalis Alien, its review will be right around the corner, but we are also going to be looking at more NECA Toys reviews in the not so distant future. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.